Hi guys, Lisa Wren here. Just wanting to talk to you today about the top 3 reasons why diets fail and how you can actually set yourself up for success. So as an accredited practicing dietitian, I see a lot of people who are really struggling to get well, to get healthy and to shift some weight. They've managed to lose weight in the past, but the weight's always come back on. And I really wanted to share with you today why that happens, why that weight goes off and comes back on. So this is, I guess, the reason that a diet fails, is that the weight doesn't stay off. That's the success we're all after, is how do we make changes to our health that stay in place so that the weight stays off. I think the major reason why these things happen is because all we think about when we think about improving health is a diet. So I want to talk to you today with the understanding that diets just don't work, and that perhaps there definitely is a better way of looking at this. But let's have a look about what we'll go through today. So just looking at today's session, and what we'll talk about is the top 3 reasons why diets fail. And they're really more about attitudes. I really think that the battle is won and lost in your head, in your mind, and that really the reasons that they fail is the things that we tell ourselves. So let's look at those top 3 things that we tell ourselves that make sure that the diet just doesn't work every time. And then let's think about some steps to set you up for some success. And in the follow-up, how do you get that support that you need? What's the most ideal support in order to make these changes really sustainable, so that they stick around and it's not just a flash in the pan diet. So first off, let's have a look at the top 3 reasons why diets fail. As I said, it's more about an attitude, but time is our first reason, and it certainly is a reality that we're all time poor. However, if I can point out as well that we are all time poor, and yet some people do manage to fit in health and well-being and healthy eating into a really busy lifestyle. So I'm not for one second saying that we're not all busy and that time isn't a factor. But I think, as I ask you this question, the things that are really important to you, do they get done? And I think in our busy day, we could probably say, yes, you know what, I remember to feed the kids. I do remember to pick them up from school. I do make time to feed the animals. So I do make time to shower most days. So time is an interesting one, and I think it's the first, it's a reality, but I do believe that it is in your mind as to how you prioritise things. So at least the good news is that even in a time poor environment, we can put these things in place. And I think that leads us into reason number 2. And we think, this is again an unhelpful thought and another reason why people mess up on their diets. The attitude of, I love food and I don't much like exercise. So I just like food too much, so it's impossible for me to lose weight. And I think, the whole idea here, and not liking exercise, the trap we fall into is thinking that we need to be perfect. So we think about the perfect healthy diet. We think about the perfect healthy exercise regime and what the guidelines say we should be achieving. And we go back to reason 1 and go, I just do not have time for that. And I love food. I don't want to be deprived of all those things that I love. So these 2 attitudes together really combine quite powerfully to make sure that your diet doesn't work. But I guess I would really want to tell you that the attitude of that healthy food doesn't taste good is really not true. I think that's just something that we tell ourselves, because when we really look down to it, it's like, oh, I don't mind that. I think what we are focusing in on is the idea of deprivation. If I can't ever eat chocolate again, why would I want to go there? And certainly this is a limiting belief that you have to be perfect in order to be healthy. That your exercise regime has to be 5 to 7 days a week doing an hour of exercise, when really you don't have that time and you don't like exercise. So it's much easier not to start in the first place, because you don't get into this setup of being deprived of the things that you really like. So I guess this is the critical thing about why diets fail, is because people set themselves up for failure by expecting perfection. So I want to tell you that the answer lies not in being perfect, but in creating something that actually does work with your lifestyle. So these unhelpful thoughts are real reasons why our diet doesn't work in the first place. And reason number 3 is that elusive motivation. I can't get motivated, especially for exercise, but also for changing your diet. I've got too many other things to do. I haven't got time here to put into creating an amazing menu and my fabulous exercise plan. I can't get motivated. And I think, who would get motivated if all they had to look forward to was some flogging themselves to doing things they don't like, plus depriving themselves of all their favourite food? So I agree, that's not very motivating. However, if we start to be thinking about what we're going to gain from health and helping systems in place to remind us about that, then we start to get a whole different attitude around it. So again, the reasons why diets are failing is more about an attitude rather than any limitation within your own capabilities to actually fit it in or do the work. So these are the 3 things that I feel are the biggest trip-ups for people in not successfully maintaining a weight loss. And I think these are the 3 things and the 3 ideas that start moving people in the right direction when they start actually tackling this and going, hang on, is this actually true, or is this just where I'm stuck? And I think that's what we do. We get stuck in a rut, and we need some help to get out of this rut and some advice on how can I think differently about this stuff. But you know what? Kind of the real reason underneath that really stops these diets from not working is the belief that I don't think I can do this. If I look at what I've done in the past, it's never worked. I've had this weight issue for a long time and I can't seem to change anything. I do a diet and then I stuff up and I go back to normal again. And then I go for that for a while until I can't stand myself any longer. Then I go on another diet. And I know it's not going to work longer than 2 weeks, so it's really hard to get started and motivated. So the underlying reason is, I don't think I can do this. And you know what? You're not alone with that. But it's a thought that really makes sure that your diet does not work. So the way I work with people is to really switch this around so that it's not the focus on this, and so that you start to see that instead of being impossible, that healthy lifestyle and healthy weight is actually quite a possible thing if you change how you're doing things. So can I ask you, where are you right now when you're thinking about your health, your weight, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, how you feel about yourself? Are you on this scale? Down one end here, we've got terrible. I'm feeling pretty bad about it all. So you're down this end. Or up the other end, I'm going great. I'm doing really, really well, which is fantastic. And of course, it's a continuum. You may shift every day on this continuum, but think about where you are and where you might like to be. So how far are you from feeling great about your health and your weight and your self-esteem? So it's about how we manage this gap, because for most people there will be a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And that can be really quite a frustrating thing if you're trying to close that gap and get closer to where you want to be, but you're doing the same thing over and over again. So let's have a look at what happens here and how we bridge this gap. So there's a couple of things, and I think that on this left-hand side, these words describe some of the changes that we get in attitude. So we start off and we're perhaps resigned to the fact that this is how I am, this is what I do, I can't manage this, I'll do nothing. And then we go, no, hang that, I am determined, I want to do something about this. So you get onto the next diet, or you get onto your next health kick and say, I am going to do this time, I am really determined. And then the same unhelpful thoughts come in, and there's pressing issues on your time, and then stress comes in and life happens, and so you go back to being resigned and go, oh look, it's just not the right time for me now. I've got too much other stuff going on to commit to this process properly. So we go back to being resigned. But here's the gap here. The gap here on the other side, we've got, hey, I now know all these people that managed to do that healthy lifestyle stuff, they managed to do the exercise and healthy eating. I now understand how they're doing it. I know now how it's different to what I'm currently doing. And I know, I can see it. And in fact, the next step after that is that you are just compelled to do the right thing, which sounds pretty bizarre, but let me tell you, it's true. People who manage their health well are just compelled to do this. And it's not because they're freaks. It's because they've got this different attitude. It's not about grit and determination. It's about relearning that diets do not work, understanding your unhelpful thoughts. So this is a whole big area of relearning, because you could go backwards and forwards between determined and resigned and determined and resigned. And that's what dieting is. But if you relearn here, we start to close the gap and go, aha, I'm understanding now what I need to do. And then you move into this area where it just happens. But the other thing about closing this gap is aspiration. What do you aspire to? And if you're starting to aspire to some bigger things, not just the weight. I think weight is just keeping you here at that determined. I'm determined to lose weight. And it just keeps you on that merry-go-round. But what do you aspire to do? This is how we start to tap into your goals and your dreams and start to get some motivation. So it's relearning and having some dreams and motivations and focusing on the benefits that you're going to get from being healthy and well. The extra energy, the extra confidence. And what are you going to do with that? What do you aspire to do with that? That starts to help you move over into this area of being enlightened and compelled. So let's get a better understanding of this process. So here's what I call the Hitchhiker's Guide to Dietary Enlightenment. So we go from not working to doing easy work to doing some hard work, and then we start doing the right work, and then we find that it's no work. And you'll see the words that we just talked about up the side here. We've got resigned, we've got opportunistic, determined, enlightened, and compelled. And you can see our success rate for health and weight loss increases as we move up this scale. So really quickly, let's have a look. Not working. This is where you are resigned. You're like, oh gosh, this is just not working for me at the moment. It's not the right time. I've been trying, and I just really don't think I can do it. It's not working, and I just can't see how I can make it work. But then we see an advertisement on the internet. Here, quick, easy weight loss. You take this pill, you use this machine, you do this detox and this diet, and it's going to be easy. And you know what? I guess if it was easy, if it did work, then we wouldn't have the issue that we have with overweight. It's not anything to do with you and your inability to make this work. It's actually the process. And that's an important part to understand. There is no easy work around health. The pills and potions do not work. Or if they do, it's for people who are looking to lose perhaps 1 or 2 kilos, okay? And you can do that. You know you can do that. But there's just this easy work is really, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But then we come up to the hard work, and I think this is where the majority, by far the majority of people who are trying to lose weight are in. They're doing the hard work. They are determined to make it work. It's about where diets are. So you're really working hard. You're really being strict with yourself. You're determined to make this work. But you're only focusing on what you need to eat. You're following someone else's diet plan or someone else's exercise plan, which does not teach you anything. It just shows you how little time you have for perfection and how hard this is to fit into your lifestyle. So it is hard work. And yet I think, as I said, most people just rotate between hard work, not working, easy work, hard work, and go around in circles here. This is the vicious cycle of dieting. But as you can see, here on the other side of the gap, we've got the right work. So you go, aha, I'm starting to understand what it actually takes to have sustainable health, to have sustainable weight loss, so that you're starting to do the right work. And then when you start and you've worked at that and it becomes your habit, then you get to this section of no work, whereby it's still things you have to think about, diet and exercise, of course, but you've got a whole different attitude to it, and you are compelled. So it's a different feeling. Determined is that white knuckle, gee, I hope I can do this. Compelled is, this is what I do. This is part of my lifestyle, and it wouldn't really feel right if I wasn't doing it. And you can see the success rate when you're at this no work is far, far greater than lower efforts down the scale. So let's just have a little bit of a look at how we can start to be thinking about doing that, making it no work. What is someone who makes it no work? What are they doing? So what we've got here is three components that sort of put together no work. We've got the weeds, the needs, and the deeds. So the weeds are our unhelpful thoughts. Such an important area to start looking at what beliefs we have that are really not helping us. So we looked at those three things to begin with. I haven't got time. I like food too much and I'm not motivated. These are parts of your weeds, and it's about getting strategies of how to move past that, how to acknowledge it, but to move past it so that you don't get stuck in those same unhelpful beliefs all the time. And then we've got our needs. Our needs down here. Now we've got some basic psychological needs that have been outlined by psychologists. And that's the need for autonomy, the need for relatedness, and the need for competence. So what that means is that we need to feel like we're part of something. That's relatedness. Autonomy means we're doing it on our own, that we can do this. And competence, of course, is about how much success we have. So we think about diets. They're not autonomous because they're not coming from you. They're coming from someone else. They don't really show that how competent you are, because they just basically point out your flaws and your failures. And of course, I guess that relatedness, that's what they do. Everyone's on a diet, so that makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. And I think that's what drives people to do diets. But that's the only part that they tick boxes for. The other two, competence and autonomy, they do not tick those boxes. The other things that diets don't do is they don't look at your specific needs. What is the structure of your family? What is the structure of your work? How does this need to be changed, manipulated? How can this be made to work for your situation, for your needs, for your lifestyle and your family? So that's the second part of doing no work. So people who are compelled to do healthy, to eat well and exercise, acknowledge their unhelpful thoughts and do something about them and change them to helpful ones and good motivating thoughts. They consider what they need to do and how their lifestyle works. So they personalize it. And then the deeds are the final factor here, is where we work on, what do I have to do? What do I need to be doing to make this happen? It's where the rubber hits the road. 1, 2, 3. What do I need to be doing? So I guess if you're dieting, it's like, follow this diet. You know what? That's got a whole lot of flaws in it, as I'm sure you know, because you've followed diets before. So it's not about follow this diet. It's about, okay, do I need to purchase more vegetables? Do I need to make a meal plan? How much walking am I going to do this week, given that this is how busy I am? So this is a different way of thinking about things. And people doing no work understand also that it's very much about planning. It's planning around your thoughts. So how many times have you dieted and planned around your thoughts? I'm guessing not too many. And it's also a planning around your deeds. What am I going to be doing? It's about awareness. I know when I get in this position, this is what I do. So I need to plan around that, but I need to be aware, this is my trigger point. This is my tipping point. This is where I go wrong. These are things that you need to understand in order to progress over that gap towards no work. And of course, resilience. We all mess up, and so it is about understanding that perfection is not needed and has no place in a healthy diet, because that need for perfection is also what's tripping you up every time. So these attitudes and understandings and learnings are what help you get into that enlightenment phase where you go, I see now where it's happening, why I'm failing every other time. And if you create a change, then you create progress. Let's have a little bit of a look at how you can set yourself up for success. So you need to identify your needs. What are your time constraints? You know, given that if you're working, looking after family, maybe aging parents, maybe young kids, maybe both, how does this work with you? So the need for perfection can't be there. What exercise are you capable of? Some people can't exercise much at all because of injuries or, chronic injuries, or perhaps just acute injuries in the short term. Identify your needs now. You cannot expect to follow someone else's plan and it worked for you, because your needs at this particular time are totally different. So what are your needs, even in this week, in this month, at the moment, that you need to accommodate for in your planning? Start to have a little bit of a think about your weeds. This is hard to do on your own, but it's about challenging your thoughts and understanding that what you're thinking is not necessarily fact. So just because you think you can't do it is not necessarily true. And as I said, it is hard to do this on your own because we tend to get stuck in our own heads. Everybody else, as you'd know, can see you a lot more clearly than you can see yourself. I know that often surprises me when people tell me things about myself. I go, really? So challenging your thoughts can be hard on your own, but it is what you need to be doing. It's that awareness of, that's not helpful. That is not helping me get to where I want to be. And to be doing things differently. So instead of eating when you're stressed, start to be doing things about thinking about how you can do things differently. As I said, these are hard things to do on your own, but planning your deeds are really important. What are you going to do? This could look like a SMART goal if you've done some SMART goals before. So specific, measurable, action-based, realistic, timely goals that tell you exactly what you need to do. So this is kind of, I guess, where the work comes in, because you're not following someone else's plan. You've got to be thinking about your plan. But given that it is your plan, it's got such a greater chance of success, because it's looking at your needs, it's looking at your unhelpful thoughts, and it's looking about what you need to do. So the ideal setup for this, we've got a lot of different levels that we can look at here. This is what I'm calling the circle of accountability and results. So as we get closer into the middle, we start getting some greater results because we're honing in on that responsibility and the accountability. So we can do it on our own, which is how most people do it. But the shortfalls of that is that it is hard to analyze your own thoughts. Really hard to challenge your own thoughts when you don't actually even know they're wrong. The other thing is we do things the same way all the time. There's no new input. So you keep just struggling with the same struggles over and over again. You need that input and you need that support from somebody else, which is, I guess, where the next level comes in of family and friends, which is great because the more likely you're going to get greater success when you actually are paired up with someone who's close to you. So a partner or mother-daughter or friends doing this together, you have that slightly increased accountability that you can get going. But I guess, again, one of the shortfalls is that you don't have any new input. And you can sort of end up failing together or giving up together. It acts as good accountability in the short term, but the long term, sometimes it's hard to keep going because there's no new input. There's no new ideas. So getting together with other dieters in diet groups and things like that is really helpful too, because you are in an environment where people understand what you're going through. So you know you're not the only one feeling like this, and that's a really comforting thought, and it's a useful part of these dieting groups. I think one major flaw of the dieting groups is it's all focused on diets. It is not focused on doing the right work and getting to know work. It is just focused on doing the diet. And therefore, you get stuck in that rut, and you also hear other people's failures and excuses, and take them on as your own, and you start to just embed that. The other thing is it really resolves all around weight, and weight is a really frustrating thing. So there's punishments and there's rewards, and sometimes, you know, the accountability is there, but sometimes it just cements you doing that hard work over and over again, and you don't progress. So seeing a health professional, as we're targeting in, we're getting some new fresh input, we're getting some focus, we're helping build in that accountability to somebody else as well. And we're making sure that you've got those new ideas, that the new ideas are there and that you're embracing it. I guess not all health professionals do embrace the whole idea of the right work and can focus in on the hard work often. But I guess a good health professional will be helping you move through those stages so that you can get to be doing the right work and starting to understand it's not about weight, it's more about how you're thinking as well as what you're eating and exercising. So it's the whole package. So as we're getting in closer, the whole idea of the peak way of getting accountability and results is a facilitated group. So it's a group facilitated by a health professional that understands what the right work is. It's a group of people who are at the same level as yourself, so you're still getting that great understanding. And yeah, I feel that way too. So you're getting that understanding, you're getting accountability, keeping the knowledge fresh and keeping you moving and crossing that gap. More people you can surround yourself with, and the fresh input and the right information that you get is really putting it all together. So I guess it's like the Duck's Nuts is that health professional led group. So there's the advantages of having the people around you. There's the health professional injecting new ideas. The goals made to a group are more likely to be achieved because it increases accountability. And if you're coming into this group with a family member or friend, then you also build that level of accountability and support in as well. So if you are interested in getting this level of accountability and really to push you over that gap into getting the enlightenment, the relearning and aspiring to making this health no work. If you're actually getting a bit sick of the hard work, then I've put together this group. If anyone wants some help here, this is a 90-day Accelerator program. So it is a 3-month program aimed at putting all of those levels of accountability in place. So it'd be great to come with a friend if you've got one, a family member, a partner. If not, that's totally okay, because it's with a group who knows what to do and knows what you're going through. And it's led by me, a dietitian who definitely understands about doing no work and making it compelling to be healthy. So what this entails is there's a product pack, which is my book and a CD and a DVD. I've got an online program, which is a 7-series module of online videos that you work through to help just get you some awareness about where things are going wrong. And it's also something obviously you can do at home in your own time. But there's also that face-to-face group support, which really helps with accountability. Plus a webinar, which is again an online support group where we can work together and just really hone in on some issues. There's also video, text and email support as well. So it is the full package of information to help relearning and keep you aspiring to greater things. Now, I'm really only just looking for people who are really committed, because it's $997. I understand that is a big investment, but it's about going, am I sick and tired of doing the hard work? Do I want to actually learn how to move into that easy work? So if you are really committed, and I know this is not for everybody, but if you really want to hit this on the head, there's $1,500 for the 2 people. So obviously that brings the price down. So if you are interested in moving through that gap and getting closer to getting that ideal health and weight, self-esteem and confidence that you really believe you're worth, and I believe you're worth that, then this is the kind of supportive environment that's going to make it happen. If you are interested, please just email me, lisa@bodywarfare.com.au. If you have any questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. Just drop me an email and I will certainly get back to you. I would really encourage you to have a think about what's the cost of not acting on your health in a different way. You know, the whole idea of doing the hard work all the time is hard. So if you're really just wanting to start feeling compelled and get healthy, drop us an email and I'd love to talk to you about this 90-day accelerator. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.